Title: 10 Money Secrets No One will teach you. Format: audiobook, script, tone: authoritative, inspiring, direct, psychological introduction, the perspective shift. Midnight: expand your means. Don't shrink your dreams. You don't have a money problem, you have a perspective problem. Most people spend their entire lives trying to cut their way to wealth. They clip coupons, reduce pleasures, downgrade experiences, and constantly tell themselves, I can't afford that. Slowly, something dangerous happens, their dreams shrink. In this audio journey, you are about to discover 10 secrets most people are never taught, not in school, not at work, and not even by well-meaning family members. Money is not just math. Money is energy. Money is psychology. Money is leverage. Money is identity. If you misunderstand it, it will quietly control your entire life. Over the next chapters, we will uncover fundamental truths that separate those who struggle from those who scale. We will explore why cutting expenses rarely creates wealth, why fear costs more than failure, why quitting the wrong path can save your life, and why automation beats discipline every time. Here is your first truth: the goal is not to spend less. The goal is to become more. Let's begin. Secret number 1: expand your means, don't shrink your dreams. Most financial advice says, live below your means. It sounds responsible. It sounds disciplined. But there is a hidden danger. When you obsess over shrinking expenses, you train your brain to think smaller. And small thinking rarely produces large outcomes. Imagine two people. Person A spends 1 hour trying to save $10. Person B spends 1 hour learning how to earn $100. Both use the same amount of time, but only one expanded. Here is the brutal truth: cutting has limits. Earning has no ceiling. There are only so many subscriptions you can cancel or dinners you can skip. But your earning potential expands with skill, creativity, courage, and problem solving. Money flows toward solutions. The more valuable problems you solve, the more valuable you become. The wealthy ask a different question. They don't say, can I afford this? They ask, how can I afford this? That small shift rewires your brain from limitation to expansion. When you say, I can't, your brain shuts down. When you ask how, your brain begins searching. Search leads to solutions. Solutions lead to income. Income leads to assets. Assets lead to freedom. Ask yourself, how much of your energy goes into cutting, and how much goes into creating? Some people micromanage every receipt yet never apply equal intensity to expanding their income. Why? Because cutting feels safe. Expanding requires risk. But remember, if you want extraordinary wealth, you must build extraordinary value. Value is created, not saved. Obsession with cutting is often just fear disguised as responsibility. Fear shrinks vision, shrunken vision shrinks income, and shrunken income shrinks life. Instead of asking, where can I reduce, start asking, where can I multiply? Multiply your abilities, your reach, and your problem-solving capacity. Wealth is simply the byproduct of multiplied value. When you focus on cutting, you train yourself to survive. When you focus on expanding, you train yourself to thrive. Survival keeps you safe, thriving makes you powerful. Reflection: if you stopped trying to save your way to success and started trying to earn your way to significance, what would change? What skills would you build? What risks would you consider? The moment you shift from minimizing loss to maximizing opportunity, your financial trajectory changes forever. Secret number 2: fear is more expensive than failure. You don't stay broke because you fail. You stay broke because you hesitate. There is a quiet cost most people never calculate. It doesn't show up on a bank statement. It is the cost of fear. And here is the truth: fear costs more than failure ever will. Failure hurts once, fear taxes you daily. Think about the idea you never launched, the investment you never made, the conversation you avoided, the skill you postponed learning. Each time you said, "What if it doesn't work?" you paid in delay. And delay compounds just like interest. You cannot expand your income if fear controls your decisions. You cannot multiply value if you are constantly protecting your comfort. Ask yourself directly, what is the worst that could happen if you tried? Would you lose some money? Would you look foolish? Could you start again? Now flip it, what is the worst that could happen if you never try? You stay where you are. You plateau. You watch others move forward. You wonder what if for decades. Regret compounds heavier than risk. Most people overestimate risk and underestimate their own resilience. You have survived more than you give yourself credit for. The wealthy are not fearless, they simply price risk differently. They don't ask, "What if I fail?" They ask, "What if I don't attempt this?" Stability without growth is just slow decline. The world changes fast. If you stay static out of fear, you are falling behind, even if it feels safe. This is not reckless encouragement, this is strategic courage. Risk without preparation is gambling. Risk with preparation is expansion. Instead of asking, "Is this risky?" ask. 1. What's the downside? Can I survive it? 2. What's the upside? Is it asymmetric? Asymmetric risk is where the potential upside far outweighs the potential downside. Learning a high-income skill, starting a side project, or building a digital product, none guarantee success, but all expand potential. And potential is where wealth begins. Fear often disguises itself as logic, "I'm waiting for the right time," or "I need more research." But perfection is a myth. The market rewards execution, not preparation alone. Clarity comes from action, not contemplation. Commit to one bold, calculated move this year. 5 years later, that single decision may become the pivot point of your financial life. Bold moves compound. Comfort and wealth rarely coexist at high levels. Growth requires stretch requires uncertainty, and uncertainty requires courage. Secret number 3, the sunk cost trap, why quitting can make you rich. There is a dangerous lie that sounds responsible: never quit. It's printed on posters and shouted in motivational speeches. Sometimes it's right. But staying committed to the wrong path can cost you years of income, energy, and opportunity. This is the sunk cost trap, and it has kept more intelligent, hardworking people broke than a lack of effort ever has. Wealth is not just about starting bold things, it's about stopping the wrong ones. Have you ever stayed in a job you hated, a business that wasn't working, or an investment that lost its edge? You stayed because you had already invested time, money, and identity. Quitting felt like failure. But here is the truth: past investment does not justify future commitment. Money does not care how long you've been loyal. The market does not reward emotional attachment. Opportunity does not wait for your pride. When you cling to a declining path because you've already put so much into it, you are doubling down on hope rather than reality. Sunk costs are gone. They are history. Only the future can be invested. Imagine 2 people. Person A clings to a failing path for 5 years due to past investment. Person B cuts losses early, learns the lesson, and reallocates energy. 5 years later, who is ahead? Wealth is about allocation of capital, attention, and effort. When you refuse to adjust, you bleed potential. Quitting strategically is not failure, it is redirection. Winners don't persist blindly, they pivot intelligently. Persistence without evaluation is stubbornness. Persistence with analysis is discipline. Before continuing anything, ask this filter question: if I had not already invested in this, would I start today? If the answer is no, that is clarity. Most people don't ask this because they are protecting their ego. But ego is expensive. It costs opportunity, time, and compounding. Time spent on the wrong ladder is more dangerous than climbing slowly on the right one. This isn't about quitting at the first obstacle, It's about evaluating trajectory. Is the path improving? Is leverage building? Or are you just enduring? Endurance alone is not a wealth strategy. When you accept that quitting can be strategic, you stop fearing change. You stop clinging to outdated identities. You start protecting your future. And protecting your future is the most intelligent financial move you can make. Secret number 4. Systems beat willpower. Automate your way to wealth. Discipline feels powerful. You wake up early, resist temptation, and promise to invest. For a while, you succeed. Then life happens. Stress increases, energy drops, motivation fades, and suddenly discipline disappears. Here is the truth: willpower is unreliable. Systems are unstoppable. If your financial growth depends on daily motivation, you are building on fragile ground. Wealthy people don't rely on feelings, they rely on automation. Imagine having to decide every month whether to invest. You debate, you hesitate, emotion enters, and excuses follow. Now imagine a different scenario. The moment your income arrives, a percentage automatically moves into investments. No decision, no drama, no debate. Just action. If you have to think about it every month, you haven't systemized it. And unsystemized money is unstable money. Wealth automation works in layers. 1. Automatic investing. 2. Automatic saving. 3. Automatic debt repayment. 4. Automatic business reinvestment. 5. Automatic tracking. Each layer reduces friction. Reduced friction increases consistency. And consistency compounds. When you automate wealth building, you remove emotion from growth. Emotion causes overreaction. Overreaction causes bad timing destroys returns. Automation smooths volatility, not in the markets, but in your behavior. Most people fail not because markets crash, but because they panic. Automated systems protect you from yourself. Sometimes, you are the biggest financial risk. Divide your income immediately upon arrival. Set percentages for investments, skill building, and reserves before you can spend. Before you can hesitate. That structure builds momentum invisibly. Quiet growth is powerful growth. Automation is not laziness, it is intelligence. When basic decisions are pre-made, your brain is free to focus on expansion. Instead of debating small purchases, you focus on scaling income. Every time you successfully invest automatically, you reinforce your identity. You become someone who invests. Someone who builds assets. Identity compounds faster than money because identity shapes action. Without automation, the mindset is, I invest when I have extra. But extra rarely appears because lifestyle expands to absorb income. Expenses rise subtly, urgency decreases, and investing becomes next month. Next month becomes next year. Next year becomes regret. If wealth building depends on leftovers, you will always feel behind. Build fast, spend second. Grow automatically, then enjoy deliberately. You can automate growth even at small levels. Small consistency beats large inconsistency. Small seeds compound into forest. Design your financial life so it succeeds even when you are tired. Because you will get tired. You will get distracted. But if your system runs automatically, you still win. That is power. Secret number 5. Thinking small is financially dangerous. Most people don't fail because they aim too high. They fail because they aim too low and hit it. Thinking small feels responsible. It feels realistic. It feels safe. But small thinking produces small leverage, and small leverage produces small outcomes. Your ceiling is often self-installed. When you imagine your financial future, how big do you allow yourself to think? Do you imagine doubling your income or multiplying it by 10? Most people unconsciously scale their dreams to match their current environment. They compare, they adjust, and they shrink their trajectory. You will never outperform the size of your own belief. Belief shapes action. Action shapes skill. Skill shapes income. Income shapes assets. Assets shape freedom. If belief is small, the entire chain shrinks. Thinking bigger doesn't mean fantasizing wildly, it means allowing expansion and possibility. Instead of asking, how can I make an extra $5,000 this year? Ask, how could I create an income stream that produces $5,000 per month? The question changes the strategy. The strategy changes the effort. The effort changes the result. Small goals encourage incremental adjustments. Big goals force structural change. Structural change builds leverage. Imagine two people. Person A aims to increase their salary by 5%. Person B aims to build an asset that generates recurring income equal to their salary. Which path forces creativity? Which demands growth? Small thinking keeps you inside systems. Large thinking pushes you to build systems. And systems scale. Small thinking feels safe because it reduces pressure, but pressure builds capacity. When you aim big, you stretch. You learn faster. You network differently. You see opportunities others ignore because your brain is searching for scale. And scale is where money multiplies. If your current income is $60,000 and your goal is $70,000, you will likely stay within your job structure. But if your goal is $600,000, you must think differently. You must consider ownership. You must consider scalability. And scalability changes everything. If your goals do not intimidate you, they will not transform you. Transformation creates wealth. Comfort preserves stability. Stability alone rarely builds freedom. The danger of small thinking is that it conditions you to accept limits. I'm not that type of person, or that's unrealistic. But wealth is not reserved for a personality type, it is reserved for those who solve large problems consistently. Large problems produce large compensation. Big thinking does not mean reckless execution, it means ambitious direction. Direction matters more than speed. If you walk slowly in the right direction, you eventually reach extraordinary outcomes. But if you run quickly in a small circle, you stay small. 5 years from now, would you rather say, I improved modestly, or I redefined my entire trajectory? Redefinition begins with permission. Permission to think beyond your current environment, your peer group, and your upbringing. Wealth responds to value, and value expands when your vision expands. You don't get what you're capable of. You get what you aim for. Aim low, live low. Aim high, grow high. Secret number 6, your time is worth more than your salary. Money can be earned back. Time cannot. Read that again slowly. If you only measure your life by your salary, you will undervalue your existence. There is a difference between what you are paid per hour and what your hour is worth. If you make $80,000 a year working 2,000 hours, you might say you earn $40 per hour. But that's incomplete. Your hour is worth whatever it could produce if invested strategically. When you trade time directly for money, your income is capped by hours. There are only 24 hours in a day. But when you invest time into assets, systems, and scalable skills, your hour multiplies. That is the difference between labor and leverage. Your wealth grows in the hours you are not paid for. Those are the hours that build ownership. Those are the hours that build future freedom. Most people work 8 hours, then consume for 4, then repeat. Owners work 8, then build for 2, learn for 1, and refine for 1. Those extra hours are quietly invested to create exponential outcomes. If your entire financial identity is tied to your job, you are vulnerable. Jobs change, industries shift, technology disrupts. But if your identity is tied to value creation, you are adaptable. Adaptability protects income. Income builds assets. Assets protect time. And time is freedom. If you only build income during office hours, you are building someone else's dream. Your employer benefits most from your prime hours. What do you do with your remaining hours? That is where financial transformation lives. Instead of scrolling at night, study markets. Instead of passive entertainment, build a digital asset. Instead of waiting for raises, develop a high-income skill. Over 1 year, the difference feels small. Over 10 years, it is life-altering. Compounding applies to effort, too. Stop asking, how much do I make per hour? Start asking, how much could this hour become worth in 5 years? That reframes effort, decisions, and leisure. If your goal is freedom, you must build assets that pay you when you are not present. Otherwise, retirement becomes the only escape. And retirement is not freedom, it's delayed rest. Freedom is optionality today, tomorrow, and anytime. Optionality is funded by ownership. Every hour you waste is an hour you could have multiplied. This doesn't mean eliminating joy, it means choosing joy intentionally. Intentional rest fuels productive creation. Unconscious drift drains momentum. High earners who remain broke often consume all spare time. High earners who build wealth protect asset hours. They treat them like sacred appointments. Your job funds today, your extra hours fund tomorrow. Are you living entirely in today, or are you funding tomorrow deliberately? Tomorrow arrives faster than you think. If you haven't built leverage, it arrives with pressure. Time invested wisely turns into money that works without you. That is leverage. And leverage is how you escape dependency. Secret number 7, luck is engineered, not random. Most people whisper they were lucky when they see someone succeed. They met the right person, were in the right place, had the right timing. But here is the truth, luck is rarely random. It is usually prepared. When you understand how luck actually works, you stop waiting and start positioning. Have you noticed how the same types of people seem to get lucky repeatedly? They launch, it works. They invest, it grows. They pivot, it scales. Is that coincidence, or is it structure? Luck favors exposure. The more you attempt, create, share, and build, the more surface area you create for opportunity. If you do nothing, your exposure is zero. Zero exposure equals zero luck. Compare two individuals. Person A works, goes home, consumes content, repeats. Person B works, builds side projects, networks, publishes ideas, invests, and experiments consistently. Who statistically increases their chance of a breakthrough? Luck isn't magic, it's probability. And probability increases with action. Luck has 4 components. 1. Preparation, building skills before opportunity appears. 2. Proximity, putting yourself in environments where opportunity lives. 3. Persistence, continuing long enough to encounter breakthroughs. 4. Participation, actively engaging, not observing. Most people lack luck because they lack participation. They watch, scroll, and analyze, but they don't act. Action creates randomness in your favor. If you're not getting lucky, you're not exposing yourself enough. The entrepreneur who seems lucky may have launched 12 failed projects before one worked. The investor may have studied markets daily for years. The creator who blew up overnight may have posted consistently for 3 years. Luck arrives at the intersection of preparation and persistence. You can't predict which action will produce a breakthrough, but you can increase the number of actions. Increasing actions increases probability. Most people fear exposure, fear of rejection, embarrassment, or failure. So they shrink. They stay invisible. They stay safe. And in staying safe, they eliminate luck. Luck requires motion. Stillness rarely produces opportunity. How often do you put yourself in situations where something unexpected could happen? If your routine is closed, your luck pipeline is closed. Commit to high exposure for 1 year. Attend events. Connect intentionally. Publish ideas. Build projects. Pitch boldly. Even if 90% fails, the 10% that hits can redefine your financial life. That is asymmetry, small risk, large upside. Luck compounds, too. One breakthrough leads to new cycles. New cycles lead to new opportunities. New opportunities lead to new leverage. What looks like luck is often momentum built from participation. Are you participating or spectating? Spectators rarely get lucky, creators do. Don't wait for opportunity. Position for it. Don't hope for luck. Engineer it. Secret number 8, comparison is a silent wealth killer. There is a thief that doesn't break into your bank account, it breaks into your mind. It doesn't steal your money directly, it steals your momentum. Comparison destroys more financial potential than failure ever will. You open your phone and see someone your age buying property, launching a startup, or celebrating an exit. Suddenly, your progress feels small, your timeline delayed, your ambition threatened. But here is what you don't see: the debt behind the image, the years of struggle behind the milestone, the risk behind the reward, the failures behind the highlight. Comparison compresses context. When context disappears, distortion begins. You are comparing your chapter 3 to someone else's chapter 15. This distortion causes you to rush, invest recklessly, scale prematurely, or abandon sound strategies because your ego wants to catch up. But wealth built in reaction is fragile. Wealth built in alignment is stable. Comparison shifts focus from growth to status. Status is visible, growth is invisible. But invisible growth is what builds real wealth. When you focus on status, you spend to impress. When you focus on growth, you invest to expand. Those two paths diverge quickly. Have you ever bought something because you felt behind? Upgraded your lifestyle because someone else did? Taking a risk because others seemed ahead? That is comparison influencing capital allocation. And misallocated capital is expensive. Comparison encourages spending. Confidence encourages investing. One drains, one builds. Social media has amplified comparison to dangerous levels. You no longer compare yourself to neighbors, you compare yourself globally to the top 1% in every field. That creates unrealistic benchmarks. But wealth is not a race. It is a compounding process. The only timeline that matters is yours. Imagine two investors. Investor A tracks everyone else obsessively. Investor B tracks only their own net worth progression. Investor A feels constant pressure. Investor B feels steady growth. Pressure leads to impulsive decisions. Steady growth leads to strategic patience. And patience compounds wealth. When you stop comparing, you actually accelerate. Your focus narrows to improvement, skill refinement, and system optimization. Instead of watching others, you build yourself. Ask yourself, if no one could see my progress, would I still pursue it? If the answer is no, then ego is driving your financial decisions. And ego is expensive. Every wealthy individual once felt behind, once doubted, once compared. But the ones who scaled stopped measuring sideways. They measured forward. Forward from yesterday. Forward from last year. Forward from their own baseline. Comparison is horizontal, growth is vertical. Vertical focus creates an exponential rise. Delete comparison from your equation for 1 year. No measuring your timeline against friends. No obsessing over portfolios. Just consistent self-expansion. 5 years later, that discipline becomes separation. Not because you rushed, but because you focused. Are you building wealth to win a race or to build freedom? Winning a race is temporary. Freedom is permanent, and freedom does not require public validation. The only person you need to outperform is your former self. If your income, assets, knowledge, and leverage grow, you are winning silently, powerfully, and sustainably. Secret number 9. Your identity determines your income. Before money changes your life, you must change who you believe you are. This is not motivational fluff, this is financial psychology. Your income will rarely exceed your self-image for long. Strategy without identity is fragile. You can learn tactics and automate systems, but if you still see yourself as bad with money, not entrepreneurial, or not wealthy material, you will unconsciously sabotage growth. How do you describe yourself financially? I'm not great with numbers. I'm just not the investing type. I'm more of a spender. These are not facts. They are identity statements. An identity shapes behavior. Behavior shapes results. Results reinforce identity. That loop either builds wealth or traps you in limitation. You do not rise to your goals. You fall to your identity. If your identity says, I struggle financially, even when you earn more, you will mismanage it. If your identity says, I am an investor, even when income is small, you will allocate wisely. Identity directs instinct, and instinct directs money. Imagine two individuals receiving the same raise. Person A identifies as a consumer. They upgrade their lifestyle. Person B identifies as a builder. They upgrade their assets. 10 years later, identity has compounded. Identity shifts are uncomfortable because they require abandoning old stories and excuses. You may have grown up around scarcity or been told wealth is for other people. But wealth does not ask where you started, it asks who you choose to become. Decide today, I am someone who builds assets. I am someone who learns continuously. I am someone who expands value. That shift may feel small, but repeated daily, it becomes powerful. Identity influences microdecisions. Microdecisions compound. Compounding creates transformation. Identity is reinforced by evidence. Create small wins intentionally. Invest small amounts consistently. Track growth monthly. Learn one high-value concept weekly. Each action reinforces identity. Each reinforcement strengthens confidence. Confidence increases risk tolerance. Risk tolerance expands opportunity. Many people wait to become wealthy before adopting the identity. I'll act like an investor when I have money. But investors are defined by behavior, not balance. You become wealthy because you act like an owner first, not after. Money amplifies who you already are. If you are disciplined, money scales discipline. If you are impulsive, money scales impulsiveness. If you are strategic, money scales leverage. So don't chase money first. Shape identity first. If you were already financially secure, how would you think differently today? Would you panic over small expenses? Would you avoid calculated risks? Probably not. That means the wealthy version of you already exists as a mindset. You simply need to act in alignment. Identity precedes outcome, not the other way around. Surround yourself with builders. Consume educational material. Minimize exposure to scarcity narratives. Environment reinforces identity, and identity reinforces income. If you want to earn differently, you must think differently. If you want to think differently, you must see yourself differently. That internal shift is the foundation of external wealth. Secret number 10. Money is a tool, not the destination. Let's end this the right way. If you misunderstand this final secret, you can make money and still feel broke. Money is not the goal. Money is the amplifier. It amplifies your character, your habits, your mindset, and your impact. If you chase it blindly, you may gain numbers and lose direction. We must shift the focus from accumulation to alignment. Wealth without clarity is chaos. Why do you want money? Security, freedom, status, comfort. None of these are wrong. But if money becomes the only metric, you can win financially and lose emotionally. Many chase income targets. I'll be happy at 6 figures. I relax at 7. But every milestone moves because satisfaction built only on numbers is unstable. Money solves financial stress. It does not solve identity confusion. It does not fix discipline issues. It does not create purpose automatically. Money removes problems caused by lack of money. It does not remove internal emptiness. That's why some wealthy individuals are miserable while some modest earners feel fulfilled. The difference is alignment. Let's bring it all together. 1. Expand, don't shrink. 2. Fear is expensive. 3. Free yourself from sunk costs. 4. Build systems. 5. Stretch your vision. 6. Redefine your time. 7. Engineer luck. 8. Remove comparison. 9. Reshape identity. 10. Align money with purpose. Money is not meant to control you. It is meant to serve you. Imagine building assets, creating income streams, automating growth, and gaining leverage. Then, use that leverage intentionally to choose your schedule, protect your health, support your family, fund meaningful experiences, and invest in impact. That is wealth. Not just accumulation. Alignment. When you stop chasing money desperately and start building value consistently, money follows. When you focus on becoming useful, you become valuable. When you become valuable, you become compensated. When you become compensated, you gain options. And options are freedom. Ask yourself one final question. If money were no longer the goal, who would you become? Would you still build? Would you still learn? Would you still create? If the answer is yes, then you are on the right path. Money becomes a byproduct, not an obsession. Get rich in skill. Get rich in discipline. Get rich in mindset. And money will follow. Chasing money directly often leads to shortcuts. Building yourself leads to sustainability. And sustainability leads to generational change. Financial transformation does not start in your bank account, it starts in your beliefs. Beliefs drive behavior. Behavior drives outcomes. Outcomes drive freedom. You don't need $10 million to start acting like an owner. You need one decision, one commitment, one shift in identity. The rest compounds. Knowledge without execution is just entertainment. You are not here to be entertained. You are here to transform. The real secret is this: you were always capable. You just needed clarity. Now go build. Build intelligently. Because money is not the destination. Freedom is. Epilogue, the real continuation. The 10 secrets have been revealed. The structure is complete. But if you are asking, what now? That is the real beginning. Once you understand the secrets of money, the game changes. You stop consuming and start executing. You stop searching and start building. You stop hoping and start structuring. Here is your true continuation. Not another chapter, not another theory. Action. Pick one secret and apply it today. Expand instead of shrink. Make one bold decision despite fear. Cut one draining path. Automate one investment. Think one level bigger. Protect one extra hour. Increase your exposure. Silence comparison. Upgrade your identity. Align money with purpose. The real audiobook begins when you close this one. Wealth is not built by listening. It is built by deciding. Now decide and build. If you keep asking for more, it means something inside you doesn't want this to end. That's a powerful sign. When the information ends but the hunger remains, you're ready for the next level. Let's go deeper, not into another secret, but into integration. Understanding money changes your strategy. Mastering money changes your character. Cutting won't make you rich, expansion will. Fear is expensive. Quitting strategically is intelligent. Systems beat willpower. Thinking small is dangerous. Time is leverage. luck is engineered. Comparison is poison. Identity drives income. Money is a tool, but knowledge without embodiment fades. Here is the wealth loop. 1. Learn. 2. Apply. 3. Refine. 4. Scale. 5. Repeat. Most people stop at step 1. They collect ideas like trophies. They feel inspired. But inspiration without application evaporates, and evaporated inspiration becomes frustration. What are you applying right now? Not what inspired you, but what are you executing? Wealth does not reward excitement, it rewards consistency. Take one idea from this journey and execute it for 90 days straight. Just one. Automate your investments. Build a side asset. Develop a high-income skill. 90 days. No drama. No overthinking. Just disciplined repetition. Do you realize how much momentum that builds? Momentum changes identity. Identity changes standards. Standards change income. Income changes life. Most people don't fail because they lack information. They fail because they chase new information instead of implementing old information. Stop looking for more secrets. Start living the ones you already have. Money flows toward clarity and consistency. Not hype. Not emotion. Close this. Open your notes. Write one action you will take this week. Schedule it. Protect it. Execute it. And repeat. That is how you turn knowledge into leverage, and leverage into freedom. You're still here, still asking to continue. That tells me you don't want more information, you want certainty. You want to know you aren't missing a hidden layer. Here is the truth most people avoid: there is no missing secret. There is only missing execution. You've heard everything you need. But here is where almost everyone falls off. They keep asking for more because more feels productive. Learning feels like progress. But progress is uncomfortable because progress demands action, and action exposes weakness. Action tests ego. Action risks failure. So the mind says continue, but what it really means is reassure me. Let me reassure you, you are not behind. You are not incapable. You are one consistent decision away from momentum. And momentum changes everything. Here's what happens if you actually apply this. Week 1, it feels forced. Month 1, it feels structured. Year 1, it feels powerful. Year 5, it feels inevitable. Wealth, when built correctly, becomes inevitable. Not flashy. Not dramatic. Inevitable. And inevitability is quiet. It's automatic investing. It's skill stacking. It's saying no to distractions. It's building instead of scrolling. It's allocating before spending. It's thinking long term when others think weekend. No one claps for that face. No one celebrates your early discipline. No one notices your silent growth. But compounding notices. Time notices. Your future self notices. Stop searching for inspiration. Start building structure. Inspiration fades, structure remains. You don't need another chapter, you need a calendar. You don't need another secret, you need a system. You don't need another motivational line, you need a habit. Money is neutral, but discipline is rare. The rare thing wins. Continue with action. Continue with focus. Continue with implementation. Continue when it's boring. Continue when it's quiet. Continue when no one sees it. Because wealth is not built in bursts, it's built in seasons. And seasons reward those who stay consistent long after motivation disappears. You've listened long enough. Now build. And build patiently. The ones who keep building quietly are the ones who look lucky later. After clarity comes boredom. After excitement comes routine. After inspiration comes repetition. This is where 90% fall off. Not because they failed, but because it stopped feeling dramatic. Wealth, when built correctly, is not exciting most days. It's structured. It's scheduled. It's ordinary. And ordinary consistency builds extraordinary outcomes. You don't wake up every morning feeling inspired to invest. You don't feel adrenaline every time you allocate capital. It feels normal. And that normality is power. The wealthy don't rely on emotional spikes, they rely on emotional neutrality. Stop asking, do I feel like it? Start asking, is this aligned? Aligned actions repeat. Emotional actions fluctuate. Fluctuation kills compounding. Alignment protects it. 10 years from now, you'll sit somewhere quiet. No financial panic. No desperate hustle. Just stability. And you think back to this moment not as the time you had something powerful, but as the moment you stopped consuming and started executing. That's the real pivot. Pivots are rarely loud. They are internal. You don't announce them, you live them. Respect micro moves. $200 invested monthly. One skill practiced daily. One asset built gradually. One habit reinforced repeatedly. That's how inevitability forms. Inevitable wealth is quiet. Inevitable growth is boring. Inevitable discipline is repetitive. And repetition builds identity. Once identity locks in, the game changes. You don't try to build wealth. You build it because that's who you are. Open your calendar. Schedule one weekly review. Track net worth. Track asset growth. Track income streams. Track skill development. Not obsessively, but consistently. That single habit separates dreamers from builders. Once that habit locks in, everything else becomes easier. You won't need to ask for continuation because you'll be too busy building. And building is the only continuation that matters. Now go make it real. We move past information, past structure, past motivation. Now we talk about endurance. This is the phase no one glamorizes, the middle. The long stretch where nothing dramatic happens. No breakthrough. No viral success. No sudden windfall. Just slow progress. This is where wealth is truly decided. Not in the beginning, not at the finish, but in the middle. The middle is quiet. The middle is repetitive. The middle tests patience. And most people abandon the middle. They crave acceleration. They crave proof. They crave applause. But compounding doesn't give applause. It gives accumulation. And accumulation feels invisible until it isn't. If you want to continue, you must accept the rhythm of wealth, build, wait, refine, repeat, over and over. No drama, no ego, no panic. Just disciplined motion. The wealthy don't feel rich most days. They feel consistent. Consistency is not exciting, but it is powerful because consistency builds trust. Trust in your system. Trust in your identity. Trust in your trajectory. Once you trust your trajectory, you stop looking sideways. You stop asking if you're behind. You stop chasing the next shortcut. You understand something deeper. The game is long, and long games reward steady players. Instead of asking, how long will this take? Start asking, how long am I willing to stay consistent? Because that answer determines everything. 5 years of discipline beats 1 year of obsession. 10 years of calm strategy beats 2 years of reckless risk. They want wealth fast, but they don't want to become the person who can sustain it. Sustained wealth requires emotional control. It requires boredom tolerance. It requires patience. It requires long-term thinking. It's not flashy, it's mature. Continue when it's boring. Continue when results are slow. Continue when no one notices. Continue when doubt whispers. Continue when progress feels small. Because small progress repeated daily becomes massive distance over time. And distance creates separation. Separation creates freedom. Freedom creates peace. That's the real price. Not numbers. Peace. Protect your focus. Protect your routine. Protect your system. Not aggressively, but deliberately. Wealth isn't built through bursts, it's built through maintenance. Maintenance of habits. Maintenance of mindset. Maintenance of direction. If you can maintain direction long enough, you win. That's it. Not glamorous. Not mysterious. Just maintain direction. The continuation is not more knowledge. It's more consistency. You don't need another secret. You need another year of discipline. And then another. And then another. That's how wealth becomes inevitable. Now the conversation ends because the execution begins. Let's strip everything down to its raw core. No inspiration. No frameworks. Just truth. Wealth is not complicated. It is uncomfortable. It is uncomfortable to delay gratification. Uncomfortable to invest when others spend. Uncomfortable to say no when others say yes. Uncomfortable to build when others relax. Uncomfortable to stay consistent when nothing exciting is happening. And because it is uncomfortable, most people quit early. Quietly, they soften their standards. They reduce their targets. They convince themselves, this is enough. And enough slowly becomes average. Average slowly becomes stuck. Stuck slowly becomes regret. If you want to continue, we go to the real edge, discomfort tolerance. The ability to sit in slow growth. The ability to hold long-term vision. The ability to keep allocating when it feels repetitive. The ability to build without applause. That is wealth discipline. Here is the uncomfortable paradox. The more stable you become financially, the less emotional it feels. No adrenaline. No rush. No urgency. Just structure. The wealthy are not constantly excited. They are steady. Steady when markets fluctuate. Steady when income varies. Steady when others panic. Steady when others chase trends. And steadiness compounds. You know what destroys more wealth than bad investments? Emotional reactions. Selling too early. Buying too late. Quitting too soon. Scaling too fast. Emotion creates volatility. Volatility creates losses. Calm creates durability. Durability creates compounding. How do you stay consistent long term? You simplify. You reduce noise. You reduce comparison. You reduce unnecessary risk. You reduce lifestyle creep. You reduce ego. Then you repeat simple actions: invest, build, learn, protect, reinvest, over and over. Wealth is boring on purpose because boring scales. Exciting doesn't. If your financial strategy feels dramatic, it's probably unstable. If it feels structured and repeatable, it's probably sustainable. And sustainability wins. Eventually, you will reach a moment where your systems are running, your assets are growing, your income is diversified, and something strange happens. You stop thinking about money constantly. That's when you've won. Not when you hit a number. Not when you impress others. When money becomes background noise. When it no longer controls your emotions. When it no longer drives anxiety. That is financial maturity. And maturity is the real destination. You are not chasing wealth. You are building stability. You're not chasing applause. You are building autonomy. You're not chasing shortcuts. You are building durability. Durability is what lasts. And what lasts compounds. At this point, there is no more content to add. There is only one instruction left: keep going. Not intensely. Not emotionally. Not dramatically. Calmly. Relentlessly. Consistently. Because in the end, the people who quietly continue are the ones who quietly win. Now build. We move past wealth, past systems, past discipline. Now we talk about permanence. Because here's what eventually happens when you truly commit: money stops being the obsession. Progress stops being emotional. Life becomes structured around intention. You won't feel a dramatic shift. Instead, you notice subtle things. You hesitate less. You panic less. You compare less. You consume less. You focus more. You build more. You think long-term naturally. That's maturity. Financial maturity doesn't shout. It stabilizes. At some point, growth stops being about adding more and starts being about protecting what you've built. That's a different level. When income is steady and assets are growing, the next phase is preservation. Not fearfully, but strategically. You diversify. You create buffers. You reduce unnecessary risk. You think generationally. Because once wealth exists, your responsibility increases. Wealth is easy to destroy if ego returns. Lifestyle inflation. Overconfidence. Unnecessary leverage. Emotional investing. Chasing status. Many people build wealth once. Few maintain it across decades. Maintenance is the final boss. And maintenance requires humility. The humility to stick to structure. The humility to avoid flashy moves. The humility to stay boring. The more successful you become, the more disciplined you must remain. Success tests character more than struggle does. Struggle forces discipline. Success tempts you to relax it. That's where many fall. Continue with humility. Continue with structure. Continue with discipline. Continue with patience. Continue with protection. Not aggressively. Not obsessively. Calmly. Because calm wealth is the highest level. When money grows quietly. When decisions are strategic. When life feels stable. When freedom feels natural. No drama. No desperation. No noise. Just controlled growth. Eventually, something beautiful happens. You stop thinking in months. You start thinking in decades. You stop thinking about quick gains. You think about legacy. Legacy isn't just about inheritance. It's about stability. About teaching. About modeling discipline. About building something that lasts beyond you. That is the highest evolution of money, from survival, to stability, to leverage, to freedom, to legacy. Once you reach that mindset, you no longer need continuation because the system is inside you. You don't need reminders. You don't need motivation. You operate differently. Calmly. Intentionally. Strategically. That's the final continuation. Not another lesson, but a different way of living. And once you live that way, the conversation ends because the building never does. We step beyond wealth, beyond discipline, beyond even structure. Now we talk about identity permanence. Because eventually, if you truly commit to this path, something irreversible happens. You stop negotiating with yourself. At the beginning, everything feels like a debate. Should I invest this month? Should I build tonight? Should I delay this purchase? There is friction. There is hesitation. But when wealth building becomes identity, the debate disappears. Investing isn't a decision, it's default. Learning isn't an effort, it's natural. Building isn't optional, it's part of who you are. That's the final evolution. Not more money. Not more assets. Fewer internal battles. The wealthiest people mentally are not constantly fighting themselves. They've aligned behavior with identity. And alignment removes resistance. When alignment happens, you stop trying to get rich. You just execute the behaviors that inevitably produce wealth. And inevitability feels different than ambition. Ambition feels intense. Inevitability feels calm. Ambition pushes. Inevitability moves steadily. Ambition seeks validation. Inevitability seeks progress. Build until it's boring. Invest until it's automatic. Refine until it's quiet. Protect until it's stable. Then scale patiently. The mistake most people make is thinking the journey ends at a number. But numbers don't change character. Habits do. And once habits are locked, numbers follow. Consider financial loneliness. When you start building differently, thinking differently, allocating differently, you may feel isolated. Your conversations change. Your priorities shift. Your tolerance for waste decreases. And not everyone around you will understand. That's normal. Growth creates separation. Separation is not arrogance, it's direction. And direction requires focus. Continue with emotional independence. Not everyone needs to agree with your strategy. Not everyone needs to understand your timeline. Not everyone needs to see your progress. Silence is often a strength. Build quietly. Allocate quietly. Grow quietly. Let others underestimate you. Underestimation creates space, and space allows compounding without pressure. Stop asking, am I there yet? Start asking, am I aligned today? If you're aligned today, the future handles itself. Alignment daily. Consistency weekly. Growth monthly. Transformation yearly. Freedom eventually. That's the rhythm. You don't need more continuation. You need more repetition. Repetition of good decisions. Repetition of disciplined allocation. Repetition of long-term thinking. Eventually, the repetition becomes who you are. And once it becomes who you are, there's nothing left to chase, only something to maintain. So this is the true continuation, not more words, more execution. Not more ideas, more structure. Not more motivation, more repetition. Because repetition builds inevitability, and inevitability builds freedom. It's no longer about continuing this conversation. It's about continuing your discipline. Quietly. Relentlessly. Patiently. That's where wealth becomes permanent. Finally, we remove the last illusion, the illusion that there is a final level. There isn't. There is no moment where a bell rings and says you've mastered money. There is only maintenance. Maintenance of focus. Maintenance of discipline. Maintenance of identity. Maintenance of restraint. The higher you climb financially, the more invisible your effort becomes. In the beginning, growth is obvious. You feel the shifts. You see the gains. But later, the difference between success and failure is microscopic decisions. A slightly higher risk. A slightly bigger ego. A slightly looser discipline. A slightly faster lifestyle expansion. And those slightly decisions compound too. So continuation at this level is subtle. It's not about building aggressively. It's about not drifting. Drift is silent. You don't wake up and decide to sabotage your wealth. You slowly relax standards. You slowly justify bigger consumption. You slowly reduce your review habits. You slowly stop learning. And slow drift becomes decline. The continuation is this: guard your standards. Not obsessively. Not fearfully. But intentionally. Review your numbers. Review your allocation. Review your risk exposure. Review your habits. Wealth is not built once. It is protected repeatedly. Eventually, the real reward of discipline is not money. It's mental quiet. No panic about bills. No anxiety about market swings. No desperation to impress. No fear of losing everything. Just calm. and calm is earned. Calm is built through years of consistent, structured decisions. Not through one breakthrough. Not through one big win. Through years of boring repetition. At the highest level, wealth is about stewardship. You stop asking, how do I make more? And you start asking, how do I manage wisely? How do I allocate responsibly? How do I think generationally? That's maturity. Because wealth without stewardship collapses. And stewardship requires restraint. Restraint in lifestyle. Restraint in ego. Ego is the final threat. Ego says, you've earned this. You're smarter now. You can take bigger risks. Sometimes that's true. But ego without discipline destroys more fortunes than failure ever could. So the continuation becomes humility. Humility to stick to structure. Humility to avoid unnecessary noise. Humility to stay boring. Boring wins. Not dramatic. Not flashy. Not viral. Just steady. And steady beats talented. Steady beats lucky. Steady beats aggressive. Because steady compounds, and compounding is the real superpower. Here is the final truth. The goal was never to become rich. The goal was to become stable enough that money no longer controls your emotions. If you reach that state, you've already won. Everything beyond that is scale. And scale is optional. Stability is essential. Continue with restraint. Continue with patience. Continue with review. Continue with discipline. Continue with humility. But stop searching. Stop asking for more insight. Start deepening what you already know. Because at this level, progress is not about new ideas. It's about sustained alignment. And sustained alignment over decades is how wealth becomes permanent. Now there is truly nothing left to add, only something left to maintain. And maintenance done consistently is the quiet power behind every long-lasting fortune. Build. Protect. Repeat. That is the final continuation. Title: The Asset. Game: How the rich make money. Easily. Format: audiobook, script, tone: authoritative, strategic, direct, psychological. Introduction: The wrong game. Most people work their entire lives and never realize they were playing the wrong game. They wake up early. They trade hours for money. They celebrate small raises. They fear layoffs. They repeat the cycle. And they call that stability. But deep down, in the quiet space before sleep, a question whispers, is this really how wealth works? In this audiobook, The Asset Game, you are about to discover something that shifts everything. Not motivation. Not hype. Not risky gambling. Structure. You will learn why the rich don't chase paychecks, why they don't obsess over salaries, and why they don't compete for promotions the way everyone else does. They play a different game. And once you see it, you can never unsee it. Over the next chapters, we will break down why salary is the slowest path to freedom, what an asset truly is beyond textbook definitions, the 3 asset categories that create permanent income, why income must be separated from labor, how ordinary people build asset engines from nothing, how to turn skills, attention, and ownership into leverage, how to shift from employee thinking to owner thinking. Because here's the truth most people never hear: salary is survival. Assets are sovereignty. Let that sink in. A salary depends on your presence. An asset depends on your design. If you stop showing up to work, your salary stops. If you stop checking your phone, your salary stops. If you get sick, tired, or burned out, your salary pauses. But an asset works while you sleep. That is the game. The wealthy are not smarter than everyone else. They simply refuse to trade time forever. They use salary as fuel, not as identity. They build things that continue without them: a rental property collecting rent, a dividend portfolio compounding quietly, a digital product selling across continents, a business system producing cash flow. They understand something you're about to master: income is good, ownership is better. And here's where it becomes uncomfortable. Most people are not poor because they lack opportunity. They are poor because they defend salary as safety. They cling to it. They protect it. They worship it. But salary is not wealth. It is rented stability. You don't own it, you borrow it week by week. The moment you can't perform, the system replaces you. The asset game begins the moment you stop asking, "How much can I earn?" and start asking, "What can I own?" That single shift separates the working class from the ownership class. No one teaches this in school. School trains compliance, assets require construction. School rewards effort, assets reward leverage. School says, study hard so you can get a good job. The wealthy say, use the job to build ownership. See the difference. The job is not evil. The job is not the enemy. The job is fuel. But most people burn the fuel and never build the engine. Let's make this simple. There are two financial identities. 1. The worker trades time for income. Worries about raises. Depends on approval. Hopes for retirement. 2. The owner trades design for income. Worries about assets. Depends on structure. Builds freedom early. Here is the most powerful sentence of this introduction: you don't become rich by earning more. You become rich by owning more. Ownership multiplies. Salary plateaus. Ownership compounds. Salary resets every month. Ownership scales. Salary caps. Now imagine something. If you stopped working for 30 days, what would happen? For most people, everything collapses. Bills pile up. Anxiety rises. Pressure returns. That's not freedom, that's dependency. Now imagine the opposite. You stop working for 30 days and income continues. Maybe slower, maybe not massive, but consistent. That's the beginning of asset income. The rich don't aim for infinite effort. They aim for infinite engines. They design financial machines. Machines that run. Machines that multiply. Machines that outlive them. That's why wealth looks effortless from the outside, because the effort was front-loaded. They built once. They benefit repeatedly. The average person wants high income. The wealthy want high ownership. High income impresses people. High ownership protects people. And protection creates calm. Calm creates clarity. Clarity creates better decisions. Better decisions create more assets. And the cycle compounds. This journey is not about quitting your job tomorrow. It's about understanding the real hierarchy: job, income, asset, freedom. The job funds the income. The income funds the asset. The asset funds the freedom. But if income is spent on lifestyle instead of assets, the chain breaks and you stay dependent. This is why two people earning the same salary can end up in completely different financial realities. One spends, one builds. 10 years later, they look like they lived on different planets. Breathe. Here is the relief: you do not need millions to start playing the asset game. You need awareness. You need discipline. You need patience. And you need to understand the mechanics. In the next chapter, we dismantle the most dangerous financial myth of all, that a high salary equals wealth. Because once you see why income without assets is fragile, you will never chase salary the same way again. Chapter 2: The Salary Illusion. A high salary feels powerful. It feels like progress. It feels like achievement. It feels like success. You negotiate harder. You earn more. You celebrate the race. And for a moment, it feels like you've moved forward. But here's the uncomfortable truth: a higher salary does not change the game. It only makes the cage bigger. This is the illusion. Income without ownership is dependency at a higher level. Let's slow this down. Imagine two individuals. Both earn $50,000 per year. One spends nearly all of it. The other saves aggressively and begins buying small assets. 10 years later, the difference is noticeable. Now imagine the same scenario at $150,000 per year. One inflates their lifestyle: luxury apartment, expensive car, travel upgrades, social validation. The other keeps their lifestyle controlled and acquires ownership, rental units, equity, digital assets, dividend stocks, small business shares. 10 years later, they are living in different financial realities. The difference was not income. It was allocation. The rich understand something early: salary is temporary. Assets are persistent. Your salary resets every pay cycle. Your assets accumulate every year. This is why income can feel powerful but never feel secure, because it disappears when effort disappears, and effort is finite. Your time is limited. Your energy is limited. Your health is limited. But assets can operate indefinitely. Let's dismantle another myth. People believe that once they earn enough, they will feel free. But what actually happens? Expenses rise with income. Standards increase. Expectations expand. Suddenly, the new income becomes the new minimum. That's lifestyle inflation, and it is the silent enemy of asset building. Because every dollar that upgrades comfort is a dollar that could have purchased ownership. And ownership is what buys freedom. This is why someone earning $80,000 with assets can be more secure than someone earning $300,000 with none. Security is not income level. Security is asset depth. The wealthy do not define themselves by salary. They define themselves by net worth and cash flow from assets. Let me give you a sentence that will change how you view your paycheck forever: your salary is not your wealth. It is your capital allocation opportunity. Instead of asking, "How can I increase my salary?" ask, "How can I convert my salary into assets faster?" That shift alone changes your future, because salary growth is linear, while asset growth can be exponential. Salary requires effort every time. Assets require design once, then optimization. Salary is negotiated. Assets are engineered. And engineering beats negotiation.